Namaste and welcome to the next story time with me. Thank you for your lovely response on the previous post that I had put up. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it and you've personally messaged me. It makes me a lot of difference. However, when you publicly like or post or share this, the algorithm probably will help reach this out to more people who it can benefit. So please do that as well when you message me. Today we're going to read one of my favorite stories from the book The Palace of Illusions. This is a book written by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and she has written the entire tale of Draupadi from her vision and her perspective. It is so beautiful. This is about her childhood and how the only interaction that she had was with Krishna as she was growing up. Here is a beautiful description, a small little story about her thrill, about the dark skinned complexion that she shared with Krishna. Perhaps the reason Krishna and I got along so well was that we were both severely dark skinned. In a society that looked down its patrician nose on anything except milk and almond in hues, this was considered most unfortunate, especially for a girl. I paid for it by spending hour upon excruciating hour being slathered in skin whitening unguents and scrubbed with numerous exfoliants by my industrious nurse. But finally, she had given up in despair. I too might have despaired if it hadn't been for Krishna. It was clear that Krishna, whose complexion was even darker than mine, didn't consider his color a drawback. I'd heard the stories about how he charmed his way into the hearts of the women of his hometown of Vrindavan, all 16,000 of them. And then there was the affair of Princess Rukmini, one of the great beauties of our time. She'd sent him a most indecorous love letter asking him to marry her, to which he promptly and chivalrously responded by carrying her off in his chariot. He had other wives too, over 100 at last count. Could the nobility of Campilia be wrong? Could darkness have its own magnetism? When I was 14, I gathered up enough courage to ask Krishna if he thought that a princess afflicted with a skin so dark that people termed it blue was capable of changing history. He smiled. That was how he often answered my question, with an enigmatic smile that forced me to do my own thinking. But this time he must have sensed my confused distress, for he added a few words. A problem becomes a problem only if you believe it to be so, and often others see you as you see yourself. I regarded this oblique advice with some suspicion. It sounded too easy to be true. But when the festival of Lord Shiva approached, I decided to give it a try. On this particular night each year, the royal family would go in a procession, the men in front, the women behind, to a Shiva temple and offer their prayers. We didn't go far. The temple was situated within the palace grounds. Still, it was a grand spectacle, with the entire court and many of the prominent citizens of Campilia accompanying us, dressed in their glittery best, exactly the kind of event that brought out my worst anxieties. I'd make excuses of ill health so I could stay in my room, but Daima saw through them and forced me to participate. Miserable among a crush of women who chattered among themselves and ignored me, I tried to make myself invisible. The other princesses, with their bright faces and cheerful banter, made me feel doubly awkward as I slouched behind them, wishing they were with me. If someone addressed me, a guest or a newcomer, usually who didn't know who I was, I tended to blush and stammer, and yes, even at this age, trip over the edge of my sari. But this year, I allowed a delighted Daima to dress me in a sea blue silk light as foam, to weave flowers into my braid, to place diamonds in my ears. I examined Queen Sulochana, the youngest and prettiest of my father's wives, as she walked ahead of me, carrying a platter filled with garland for the gods. I observed the confident sway of her hips, the elegant grace with which she inclined her head in response to a greeting. I too am beautiful, I told myself, holding Krishna's words in my mind. I tried the same gestures and found them surprisingly easy. When noble women came up and complimented me on my looks, I thanked them as though I was used to such praise. People stood back, deferential, as I passed. I raised my chin proudly and showed off the line of my neck as young courtiers whispered among themselves, asking each other who I was and where I had been secreted all these years. A visiting bard stared at me admiringly. Later, he would make up a song about my unique comeliness. This song caught public fancy. Other songs followed. Word traveled to many kingdoms about the amazing princess of Panchal. As mesmerizing as the ceremonial flames she was born from. Overnight, I, who had been shunned from my strangeness, became a celebrated beauty. Krishna was much amused by the turn of events. When he came to visit, he teased me by playing the tunes of the most extravagant songs on his flute. But when I tried to thank him, he acted as though he didn't know what I was talking about. This is such a beautiful story about our perception of ourselves. It's how do you see yourself, and how you see yourself, and the confidence that you exude when you see yourself, when you see parts of yourself, celebrating those parts of yourself that you feel like you need to hide or be ashamed of. Do you feel like you can do something that you had pushed away or nudged away, thinking, no, maybe when I'm a little better off, maybe I'm a little bit more confident, and maybe it's the time, it's the change of the perspective, and now's the time to go ahead and be the most celebrated version of you.